Hello, beautiful creatures of the world, and welcome back to Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. It's going to be 80 degrees in a couple hours here in the far north of Maine, up along the Canadian border in the crown of Maine. I hope everyone is having a nice, warm, sunny summer day, wherever you may be. I hope you're having a day filled with fabulosity and good coffee, because everybody needs a good cup of coffee throughout the day. I'm on water, because that's actually Spindrift. Water. I've had a day. It's been a very long, grueling morning here on the homestead. We had a baby chick, and just trying to get everything all done, and mama all settled with baby, and the coop settled, and grandkids are going to be happening, and we're going to be getting a new grandbaby any day now. And I've been drinking a lot of coffee today, so at lunch my husband was just like, here, try this. Try to calm yourself down a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, Brian Dansereau gave an interview the other day with Simply Strange. Please go on over to his YouTube channel, Simply Strange, and watch the entirety of the video. It's up just over a half an hour, and it's a really good interview. And I like the page Simply Strange. I like his channel. I've been watching him for a while, and I just like his presentation of things. And I watched the interview a few times, and I gleaned a bit of information that I want to share here on my channel. I will not be linking in the description box the link to the Simply Strange channel, because content creators, they can be a little touchy, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, and I would never do that without somebody's permission. But I will link Brian Dansereau's Facebook video that he did further explaining his situation, and I will still be linking Brian Dansereau's GoFundMe page in my description box below. We linked it in the last video. We're going to link it again. Full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, guys and ghouls, I know nobody that is involved in this situation personally. Although I have been accused. You got to understand, there are people that are fans of Jaquline Nunez, and they are not happy about how content creators are presenting Jaqueline's case. You know, the unhinged rantings, the ravings, the nonsensical things she's doing, and it's been expressed, and it was expressed because I put information in my description box for a former employee of the Conjuring house, Brian Dansereau, and this person felt that I was way skewing things toward the former employees of the Conjuring house, as well as a very famous paranormal investigator. That is not the truth. I do not know anybody personally, but I do know that they're watching my videos, because this person also saw that a couple of comments from a very famous paranormal investigator were on a few videos that I did. And I will be letting you guys know absolutely, positively, Corey Heinzen and Jason Hawes have watched my videos, and they have put comments on my videos thanking me for delivering this story. That is it. I do not know these people, and I am not skewing information one way or the other. Jaquline Nunez continues to do crazy, unhinged posts on her Facebook page, and we're going to be covering that too. And that's just the way it is. So if you are a fan of Jaquline Nunez and you get ugly in my comment section, I'll take down your comment. I'm going to block you. And I don't lose sleep over anybody's opinions, both positive and negative. I do what I do, and that is it. And I feel that I am fair all the way around with everybody who is involved in anything that I cover here on Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. I'm a variety show. Talk about everything and anything that pops into my head, flies out my mouth. My opinion is my own, and it is not influenced by anybody. Just throwing it out there for everybody to digest a little bit. So we'll be continuing with the Conjuring House saga, and I want to bring up a few points that were made in Brian Dansereau's interview he did with Simply Strange. So please go to Simply Strange YouTube channel and watch that interview in its entirety. So those were the 3 comments that were put on 3 separate videos that I did by the people that are actually involved in this horrible situation, and to the person that had a problem with me skewing things. You know, it's just not true. You know, what you had to say was not true. I'm not skewing things one way or the other. If you want Jaquline to have a better role in this nightmarish tragedy that she's causing for everybody, go tell her. Tell her to do better. Tell her to act better. Tell her to be better. Tell her to stop abusing people. I don't skew my stories, my material, my videos one way or the other. None of this matters to me personally, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world. I'm not involved. And the stories are told by the content creators the way that the content creators are hearing them. And most content creators covering this, they're covering it correctly. And I will not stop putting links in my description boxes if it's going to help people. That's who I am. When I say be the kindness you want to see in the world, I practice that every single day of my life. There you have it. So be the kindness you want to see in the world and do good things during your day. And don't worry about X, Y, and Z that content creators are doing because it's not going your way. Your opinion's your opinion. You can have it. You can add it to the comment boxes below. You can comment. If you are hateful, spiteful, nasty, or fighting with people in my comment section, I will remove those comments. I will ban you from my channel. And if you give me nasty emails, I will block you from there too. And that's what I have to say about that. Ladies and gentlemen, on to the real story of the day. Brian Dansereau's interview on Simply Strange. Again, I cannot stress the fact that you guys and gals have to go to Simply Strange's YouTube channel and watch the video in its entirety. Now, I have addressed some things in my previous videos that more information came out during Brian's interview with Simply Strange, so I'm just going to kind of touch on those points a little bit. Now, Brian said when Corey and Jen, Satori and Cody and he worked at the Conjuring House, they took pride in the small details to give guests an amazing experience at the Conjuring House. But in May 2022, after Jaquline took over, they noticed a denigration of the property happened slowly over time. Jaquline Nunez cared less and less about the guest experience, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world. She did not take pride in her new business venture. I also reported back in one of my very early videos about the price to investigate for a content creator at the Conjuring House under Jaquline Nunez. The prices went up, and I expressed what those prices may have been. Well, I was expressing prices, unfortunately, I was expressing prices around the $6,500 mark because I had watched several videos and the only people that talked about the pricing having gone up on the Conjuring House experience since Jaquline Nunez took over was the Side-Eye guy. Beardo had a video on it. I guess they were all gonna go as a group, and Beardo had to back out, and the Side-Eye guy was doing a bit of a breakdown. But remember, they're all coming from the UK, so there was plane flights and everything attached to that experience that they had at the Conjuring House. I rounded it out at about $6,500. Brian did clarify when he worked there what the pricing was in the video with Simply Strange. And Brian said a content creator night base starts at $1,500. If you add a second person, bring a friend with you, bring a buddy to do an investigation, that person add-on is another $850. And then, you factor in the cost of food, travel, lodging. Some people are flying in from a different country. Some people are traveling across the country. Some people live in Rhode Island, and they are going to do their investigation a lot cheaper than somebody who has to pay for hotels and eating out and renting cars and airplane flights. So there you have it. And Brian also did confirm that after you pay all that, after you get your footage, you must show your footage to Jaquline. And if your footage tries to debunk, or you say in your footage that you did not have much of an experience, those videos will never see the light of day because Jaquline will not allow you to put them on your YouTube channel. There are several Google reviews. Just go Google, ladies and gentlemen, guys and ghouls. Go to Google. Get the information for yourself. There are reviews about the Conjuring house and people's experiences. And there are reviews of people having traveled from Florida, from California to Rhode Island. Now you're talking your travel expense, your food, your hotel stay, everything that it takes to get to the Conjuring house. And then you're paying for your experience at the Conjuring house. And nobody was there to let them in. In fact, I think it was one woman from Florida, I do believe, wanted to do an experience night with her family. She brought them all up from Florida. They were going to the Conjuring house to do the experience, and nobody showed up. And when she contacted Jaquline Nunez, the Conjuring house owner, nobody was showing up. They wanted to rebook, I guess, and that was not a possibility. Then she wanted a refund, and that was not a possibility. So as Brian said in his interview with Simply Strange, if you've had a bad experience with the Conjuring house, report it to the Better Business Bureau, ladies and gentlemen, guys and ghouls. Brian also discussed financial issues that Jaquline has, especially with her gift shop. When Brian took over the vice president position, he also got into bits and pieces of managing things properly at the Conjuring house, such as the gift shop. Now, what was going on was Jaquline Nunez, owner of the Conjuring house, was not charging Rhode Island state sales tax to anybody who purchased things in the gift shop. And according to Brian, on the video on Simply Strange YouTube channel, he did say that, basically when Jaquline doesn't want to hear what her employees have to say to her, she just shuts it off and walks away. So he tried to have a conversation with Jaquline about not charging sales tax, which is not legal. And she walked away from that conversation. He had that conversation on Monday, and he was fired on July 19th, which was Friday, like 5 days after he brought up the sales tax issue with Jaquline. She fired him. Well, the ghost of John Arnold fired him through Jackie's brain. Brian also stated that the gift shop at the Conjuring house brings in roughly $30,000 to $50,000 a month. So that's a lot of Rhode Island state sales tax that is not being collected on gift shop items at the Conjuring house. So, we've all been saying here on Coffee with Kerri-Lynn that she's got some serious financial issues. She's got some serious financial issues. Brian also did say that at one point during the firing that he received from Jaquline Nunez via John Arnold in her brain, he did say that after Jaquline accused him of stealing the money, that she put her hand out to him and said, quote, "And I want you to pay me back now. You're fired and I want you to pay me back now." She's lucky she didn't do that to me. Don't play that game. So yeah, I mean, it's just, Jaquline does Jaqueline's thing, and Jaquline is above all else, and Jaquline has never taken responsibility for anything that she has done to everybody she has done it to. All the people that she abused, she is an employer abusing employees, and she does not take responsibility for that. It's everybody else's fault, problem. The ghosts in her head tell her to do things, and she does them. We're going to get to a very fascinating fact about Jaquline in a little bit, and Jaqueline's narcissistic, abusive ways, because there's a piece of information, ladies and gentlemen, that proves I was right. Jaquline Nunez is crazy like a fox. And that'll be coming up in a few minutes here on Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. Now, sorry about that brief interruption, but when your very pregnant daughter-in-law texts you, you take that text right away. No baby yet. She didn't realize that I was working on a Sunday, and I generally don't work on Sundays. Sunday is generally family day, but we're trying to get these videos out because anytime after Tuesday, a baby will be born. So during that period, we have the older grandchildren, and I will not be making YouTube videos. I want to get back to setting up Jaqueline's personality, the personality that the former employees had to work under. And Brian did speak about how Jaquline reacts to different situations that have come up concerning her abuse of her former employees. Now, Jaquline likes to control everything and everyone, and she was doing that right up until July, when Jason gave the former employees a platform to express their side of the story. Jaquline was very controlling. She was very abusive of her employees for a while. Remember, you and I, dear audience, we only found out after Jason gave everybody a platform to speak out. And Jaquline would threaten them and say, if you tell people what I'm doing to you, if you make this public knowledge, I will destroy you professionally and personally. And Jason in July said to everybody, the former employees that resigned in May, come on my YouTube channel and tell your side of the story. And I have more money than her. And he told her right out on her thing, come after me. Come after me. I got more money than you. And you threaten to bury people under a lawsuit, I'll bury you with lawsuits. And it kind of evened the playing field. And that's when things started falling apart for Jaquline Nunez. She spoke to Brian about that because Brian still worked for her at that time. And she said to Brian, Jason effing Hawes is public enemy number one. This is the personality of this woman. Her narrative, her control was starting to slide when Jason gave everybody the opportunity to tell their side of that very abusive relationship that Jaquline Nunez had with them. It was only after Brian stepped away from the nonsense a little bit of the Conjuring house in the last few weeks that he has realized that a part of Jaqueline's control of him and everybody else was holding their paychecks, which made them more compliant and a lot more complacent. And it is true, when you work under a very abusive boss, which I did at one time, they like to play with your paycheck a little bit, or a lot of it in Jaqueline's case. And I'd call them out every time, see, because I'm a different kind of person. We are up in agricultural country. It is very patriarchal up here. And I'm from Rhode Island. And they did not realize. So when I started working at the place that I worked for, and hours would be missing on my paycheck the first time it happened, it shocked everybody. Because, the other employees were like, oh, they'll just catch up with us next week. Oh, hell no, they won't. They're going to catch up with us all now. I was like the Norma Ray. I'm just not a county girl. I'm just not that. Not that there's anything wrong with county girls, but for the most part, the men rule the roost up here, and the women are pretty complacent and compliant and whatever. And that's their dynamic, and that's great. But I'm from Rhode Island, so that didn't work. So I marched myself right into the office, and I was like, hey, you missed 7 hours on my paycheck. How the hell we do this? What kind of friggin' math are we doing? We'll catch up with you next week. Oh, hell no, you won't. You're going to open that wallet, and you're going to catch up with me in cash right now, or I'm going to be taking this computer that runs your entire damn business, and I'm going to be going home with it until I get my paycheck. And it literally turned everything and everyone on end. I'm not putting up with that shit. I worked, you give me my money. This is our relationship. How it's going to work. And if you're going to give me static, you're going to get it right back. So if you don't have yourself a Rhode Island girl in your life, you should get yourself a Rhode Island girl in your life. Your life will never be the same, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world. Now, another thing that happened under Jaqueline's abusive personality was after everybody left. Now, Brian's gone. The other people involved in this situation gone. You know, Corey and Jen, Satori and Cody, and all the other people that were involved. I am so sorry I don't know your names. I do not have you committed to memory. They're all gone. Jaquline continues to text everybody, as we know, because it's been all reported on, her abusive, nasty, foul texts. But she continues to text them as though they still work for her, as though she still controls them. And Brian said one of the texts, I believe, that made him finally start documenting some of this nonsense and such was that after he had left the Conjuring house, and this is where that 3 months for him to be alive comes from, she blamed Brian for stealing a sweatshirt. So she texts him, do you have my sweatshirt? I want it back. He's telling her, please don't text me. I don't have your damn sweatshirt. And then she goes on. He disclosed in the full interview, so please go watch that on the channel Simply Strange. He said that she blamed him for stealing the sweatshirt, poisoning her animals, and stealing her Quran. And that's where the you have 3 months to exist comes from, because apparently it's something with the Quran. If you steal somebody's Quran, you only got 3 months to live. I don't know, whatever. But that's where that all came from. And like he said, she believes, she's so narcissistic and abusive that she believes, even though they don't work for her anymore, that she still has the right to contact him as though they still do work for her, that they are still under her control. Now, with all these texts going back and forth and the firings having had happen, Brian, Satori, and Cody did go to the Burrillville Police Department because Brian wanted these things on record, these things that Jaquline was accusing him of. He wanted them on record. And at the same time that Brian, Cody, and Satori were at the Burrillville Police Department, officials, police, EMS, and social workers were at the Conjuring house because they had paperwork through the courts, which Brian did not elaborate on, and they couldn't gain access to the house. So they asked Brian to go to the property and assist the police, the EMTs, and the social workers. And the bottom line to the whole thing was the Burrillville police, the EMS, and the social workers actually did transport Jaquline Nunez to a place where she spent the evening, the night, the 24 hours, and the very next day she was sent home from the place that the police the EMS and the social workers sent her for a bit of a checkup. Now, in light of all this that is going on, Brian did say that Jaquline Nunez is highly intelligent. He has seen, Brian that is, has allegedly seen firsthand the alcohol use and abuse. He disclosed on the Simply Strange interview that Jaquline Nunez was a practicing real estate lawyer in the early 2000s. And this is the part where we all need to pay attention, ladies and gentlemen, guys and ghouls, beautiful creatures of the world. Not only was Jaquline a practicing real estate lawyer, she also has a master's degree in psychology and counseling. Jaquline Nunez understands how to be a master manipulator. She has a master's degree in psychology and counseling. I have said from the beginning, she knows what line to not cross. We did not have this information in the general public that she had a master's in psychology. Go back to the very beginning. Go back to the first videos when I said she's crazy like a fox. She bought the property. It didn't go like she planned. Maybe she was planning to cash in on the Conjuring franchise, make it look like the house possessed her, make it look like the spirits possessed her, recoup a little bit of cash. She's in financial trouble. She's crazy like a fox. She knows what she's doing. She's not pushing things to a point where she crosses over severe legal lines, where she could be locked up in the loony bin, Butler. She apparently needs Betty Ford. But I have said that from the beginning. She's crazy like a fox. She's crazy like a fox, that girl. And she's got a master's degree in psychology. So she understands how to manipulate people, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world. As far as the legalities, for Brian, his lawsuit did consist of the restraining order because of psychological torture, 5 felonious counts of wage theft. So each paycheck he didn't receive, there were 5 paychecks he didn't receive. Each paycheck he didn't receive is 1 felony count. And for the continued, there was part of that, his lawsuit is for the continued harassment, libel, and slander that Jaquline keeps throwing at him and everybody else in the situation. As far as Jaqueline's psychic abilities go, it wasn't until May or June of 2024 that Jaquline started claiming psychic abilities. And it happened, Brian said, after she started using dowsing rods. The employees, Brian included, tried to show her that how to use the dowsing rods. She was using them very improperly. And she said, quote unquote, "I own the effing Conjuring house. I know how to use dowsing rods." And it was shortly after that statement and that dowsing rods experience that Jaquline suddenly has these very open psychic abilities, to the point where the former owners of the property, John Arnold specifically, who died in the 1800s, had her fire Brian Dansereau for allegedly stealing out of the till. I'm sorry, it's not funny, but I'm just imagining this in my head. How the hell do you fire him? I'm sorry, the ghost of the property told me that you were I can't conceive. Honestly, no proof, no nothing, just the ghost told me, it's in my head. And now Brian says the current staff there, a few of the current staff, the newest staff to the Conjuring house, they are also now following suit. Some of these people Brian did hire himself, but they are now following suit, and they're all psychic mediums at the Conjuring house, or most of them are claiming to be psychics at the Conjuring house. So that is the extent of my reporting on the interview that Brian Dansereau did on Simply Strange. I want to talk a little bit about the nonsense that's going on Jaquline Nunez's Facebook page. I'm going to be really, 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 really brief about this. I know nobody wants anybody to go on over and check it out. You don't have to subscribe. I'm not subscribed there. I just kind of snoop around in there, see what's going on an almost daily basis. And last week, Jaquline had some ranting and raving nonsense supporting the Satanic Church. And most recently, she claims the actress Elizabeth Hurley is psychically attacking her. And this morning, when I did my snooping on the Conjuring House page to see what was going on, she has some nonsensical, unhinged post about how Elizabeth Hurley is her soulmate. So this thing with Jaquline is it's sad. It's sad because it does appear that there is a mental decline. There is abuse of substances going on, and that in and of itself is very saddening. Mental illness is not a joke. It is very debilitating. Substance abuse is very debilitating. These illnesses, these diseases, they affect not only the person that has the disease, they affect everybody around the person with the disease. You're always walking on eggshells. You never know what is going to set a person off, whether they have a mental illness, whether they are having a psychosis due to taking substances. And they become very dangerous from time to time. And bottom line, no matter what is going on at the Conjuring house with the owner, Jaquline Nunez, people really do have to understand that when a person is in a certain mental state, whether it is happening because the brain is misfiring, or it's happening because of substances are causing the brain to misfire, yes, you're in danger. If you are around a person that is unhinged. And it is my advice that people be careful. You know, you don't know what's going to set somebody with mental, emotional, or substance abuse issues. You don't know what's going to set them off. It could be something, it could be nothing. And it's erratic, it's unpredictable, and it looks very much like what is happening with the owner of the Conjuring house. So take heed if you are going to support any side of the story. It doesn't matter what you think of the people that Jaquline abused. It doesn't matter what you think of Jaquline Nunez. Just be mindful that they're people. And this is a story about people that are hurting. And unfortunately, there is a group of people that are hurting mentally, emotionally, and financially because of one person. And that one person is the owner of the Conjuring house. And she has developed a nightmare for herself and the people that used to work for her. So her illnesses have really started to destroy people's lives. And that story does need to be told. So if you are a fan of Jaquline Nunez, yes, I invite you to comment in my comment section and share your opinion and just be the kindness you want to see in the world. Be kind, be respectful, do not argue in my comment section with anybody. And if you are in support of the former employees of the Conjuring house, same goes for you guys and ghouls as well. If somebody does not have an opinion that you like, do not call them names, do not call them liars, do not engage with them in that way, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I can't have that in my comment section. I am not a person who goes around fighting and arguing with other people just because they don't agree with me. So nobody's opinion ever hurt anybody else in the history of human beings. So your opinion and my opinion, sure, they may differ. However, I can be mindful and respectful of the way you perceive a certain subject or topic. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, be the kindness you want to see in the world. Do not be Jaquline Nunez. And as always, Carpe Diem, because no one promised you a tomorrow.